Hey everyone, I'm Lon Schiffbauer, and in this video I'm going to take a few moments and walk you through the requirements of a strategic communications plan. Okay, so for this assignment you have three parts. You have a strategic communications plan, you have the actual deliverables, the channels that you'll have to do, and then a presentation. In this video, let's look at the plan. So to do that, we're going to come over to our PowerPoint here and go ahead and get myself a highlighter, and we'll get you all set. Okay, how to create a successful strategic communications plan. Now, this plan, if you really look at the whole outline, can be encompassed in everything on this page. All right, what did I just say? What I just said was, here's an outline for the assignment. You have a purpose and objective statement. You have an audience analysis, your messaging goals, channels, media mix, branding guide, and references. Okay? Now, this plan is based on a plan that I used for many years at Intel Corporation as an internal business communications manager. So this is a real life scenario when it comes to performing internal communication campaigns. So let's go through each one of these elements so that you know what we're looking for. All right, so with that, let's first look at the purpose and objective statement, okay? Basically, you need to answer a question of how do you want to affect the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of your audience, okay? Are you trying to persuade or convince them to do something? Do you need to inform, instruct, or educate them so that they change their business practices, their work practices? There should be a distinct call to action. What is that call to action? Now, if you need a little bit of a reminder of what a purpose feels like in terms of communication, check out this video, Know Your Purpose in Communicating. This is something you saw at the beginning of the semester. You might want to review it. I will include a link to it in the description below, okay? And it probably just popped up there as well. There, whatever. Okay, let's continue on. Now, this purpose and objective statement, it's only one paragraph. But in that paragraph, it really answers all of these questions. Who is your target audience? What are you hoping to influence this audience to do? When will you be communicating with your audience? Where and how do you plan to communicate? In other words, what channels are you going to use? And why is it important for your audience to do what you're asking them to do? Okay, now what I'm going to do here is show you an example, all right? And I will go ahead and get out of the way here for a moment. This is a strategic communications plan that I put together for an assignment for my students to help better understand communication plans. It's a very meta campaign. Nevertheless, it is a legitimate full-on campaign. So let's look at our purpose and objective statement. Now, I'm not going to read everything in this plan, but I am going to read this one. And as I do so, see if you can pick up the who, what, when, where, how, and why, okay? The purpose of this strategic communications campaign is to encourage Business 2200 students to participate in a real-world example of a strategic communications campaign, thereby gaining a greater understanding of the expectations for their own final project. Some Business 2200 students are at best passively involved with the course material. They watch a handful of videos, skip over much of the material, and give the readings only a cursory glance for key points. As a result, they are not always prepared to apply the principles in their final project. The campaign will be conducted during the first month of the semester using a variety of channels best suited for the target audience. These channels will revolve around an extra credit assignment. The assignment will be optional as to demonstrate to better demonstrate the ability of communications to influence behavior. Okay, so with that, let's come back over here. Oh, hold on. And let's come back over here. Okay, so in the campaign that I have here, who was the target audience? That's right, students in my Business 2200 class. Now, what am I hoping to influence them to do? Well, I want them to participate in this extra credit assignment so that they develop a better understanding of how a plan works. And mind you, it's extra credit and optional, so if they don't do it, it shows that I did not communicate very well. If they do participate in the extra credit, then it shows that I have effectively influenced them through the campaign. When am I going to do this? At the beginning of the semester, where they're really ready to absorb that kind of content. Where and how? In other words, what channels am I going to use? Well, a variety of channels that are best suited to the audience, but all revolving around an extra credit assignment. Why am I doing this? And why do I want the students, why do I think the students ought to do this? Well, it will give them a better understanding of what the expectations of the final project will be and better prepare them to be successful when they do their own projects. Okay, so that's our purpose and objective statement. Let's continue on. You will then do an audience analysis. Now, an audience analysis really involves 4 parts. I know there's 3 here, but bear with me. The first is you want to list out all the demographics, or at least the demographics that really matter to the campaign of your target audience. These are age, gender, race, ethnicity, economic circumstance, things like that. You then want to list out the psychographics that are relevant to your campaign, of the psychographics of your audience relevant to the campaign. There we go. This is their lifestyle, behaviors, opinions, tastes, attitudes, things like that. And then context. What is happening in the larger environment that influences the effectiveness of your communication? This includes temporal, physical, social, and cultural context. Now, once again, if you need a refresher on these things, you can come on over here, check out these 2 videos, link to the description. You probably saw some things pop up here. You get the idea. And you can remind yourself of what I'm looking for here. Now, once again, if we come back over to my communications plan here, I have an audience analysis. It includes the demographics of my students, because my students are the target audience for this campaign. It includes their psychographics as well. And then I have the context. I have the temporal context, physical context, social, and then cultural context. Now, the 4th part, let me come over here and remind you, remember there are 4 parts to an audience analysis. All right, demographics, psychographics, context. The 4th part is putting together all the findings. All right, you've looked at the demographics, the psychographics, the context. Now, what does this matter? How will these things influence the way that you communicate with your audience? And so here in my audience analysis findings, I have all the ways that these factors are going to influence the way I communicate with my students. Okay, so let's come back on over here. And here we go. Hold on, folks. Oh, for heaven's sake, Lon, get it right. There we go. Now I got it right. Okay, so let's continue on. Now, the next thing that you want to look at are your messaging goals. Okay, so what are messaging goals? Well, let's work through it backwards, okay? Obviously, there are some things you want your audience to do, okay? In the case of my example, I want them to participate in this extra credit assignment. Maybe you want your audience to sign up for benefits at work. You want your audience to go to a work party. You want your audience to exercise better safety practices on the job site. You want your audience, what do you want your audience to do? What actions do you want them to take? How and when? Thing is, nobody ever takes any action unless they feel like it is the right thing to do. Okay? So, what do you want them to feel? What do you want them to feel and believe when it comes to this campaign so that ultimately they will do what you're asking them to do? Well, they're not going to feel a darn thing until they know what you're talking about. What do they need to know and understand? Okay, so looking at the example once again that we have, if we look at my messaging goals, well, what do they need to know, the audience? Well, they need to know how the point system will work. They need to know how much the extra credit will affect their final grade. They need to know how to submit the work. They need to know when it is due. But then what do I want them to feel? Well, I want them to feel like this is easy and you might as well do it. It's not all that hard. And maybe you can be a little competitive as you do so. And hey, it's not bad to pad your points at the beginning of the semester to kind of give yourself a little wiggle room in case something goes wrong, right? And so if they feel these things, then they will do this. They will complete the extra credit assignment. They will push themselves and those in their network to enroll in as many as they can. If you understand the plan, you'll know what that means. The point is, there's an action for them to take. And after we do the assignment, I want them to understand the strategic communications planning and campaign process, how it works, and apply the principles to their own projects. Okay? Apply the principles to your own projects. Boy, say that 10 times fast. All righty. So, with that, you'll want to set those up. Okay? Next thing. What are the channels you're going to use? What's going to be your media mix? Now, once again, if you need a reminder on channels and media mix and how these things work, check out these videos. I keep getting mixed up on which way to point. All right, check out these videos to remind you. You know, you want to really make sure you pick those channels that your audience consumes, right? It's not just, oh, I feel like this channel, I feel like using this one. No, no, no. What are the channels that your audience consumes? What are the channels that they trust? You know, what's your best combination of reach and frequency so that you have a greater likelihood of successfully influencing their behavior? Once again, this is all covered right here. All right. And so if we look at my example once again, I have listed the channels, the extra credit assignment. I have listed in-class discussion, video, a video invitation. I have a comment section, a tally sheet for submission, Canvas banner, Canvas announcement, Canvas email, remind.com text. So I use a variety of channels to reach my audience so that they know what to do and why to do it. So you'll want to do the same thing. And then finally, you want to have a branding guide, all right? A good, successful campaign has a common look and feel all throughout the campaign. An audience member, your target audience, should be able to just glance at a channel and know what campaign it's part of. So we want to use the same fonts, the same colors, the same layout design in all the communications. So for example, in this campaign that you, well, not campaign, but this channel that I'm using right now to communicate with you, well, this is the title font that I'm using. This is the text font I'm using. Here's the color that I'm using. and here's a brand, a logo that I'm using. And you notice that even in this little animation here, you see those same colors reflected, okay? And then you notice that the shirt I'm wearing in the background, the same sort of colors are generally reflected. Well, if we come back over to our example, we see that we have a branding guide, and in all the communications that I do for this campaign, there's a common look and feel. The whole electricity, lightning going through a blue space. This semester banner is in all the communications. That banner is in all the communications. And in the video, that banner is animated and has sound and so on and so forth. It's a video, in fact. The title font is here. Oh, look at this. I need to change the name of this for text, right? The text font. Here's the general color that we use, right? And so you're in great shape there if you follow that sort of look and feel. Okay. Now, for those of you who really know internal business communication campaigns and plans, you might be like, hey, there's some stuff missing. Yes, in point of fact, when I would run these campaigns at Intel Corporation and eBay and PayPal and so on and so forth, there are some elements missing. Normally, we would include some key messages. We would include success measures. You know, how are you going to know if this campaign was successful? How are you going to define success? How are you going to measure it? We would include a budget, and we would include a tactical plan. So if your instructor says, you know what, for your particular campaign, I would really like it if you had in place a tactical plan or success measures or a budget. Work with your instructor to figure out what these are and how to do them. But just know that if they ask you to do them, it's because they love you. They think you can take this to the next level and truly put together a professional level, corporate professional level communications campaign. But yes, these are elements that would be in a normal campaign. Now, you also want to make sure that you have references. I know it says there we are, but here's the point. I want to make sure that you understand the importance of including references. So in my case, here are all the references that I used in putting together this strategic communications campaign, the plan anyway. References are very important. References are, well, there we go. References are what demonstrate to the decision makers that you know what the heck you're talking about and that you can be trusted because you've done your research and you know how this will work based on the research. Okay, so do not forget your references. All right, folks, so there you are. There's a quick high-level overview of a strategic communications plan. Please work with your instructor to get any additional details, to ask any questions, to get more insight. But if you approach it like this, trust me, you're going to be in good shape. All right? So you have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you later.